So what is the real job of a drummer in a band? Is it cool to show chops and licks, or should you stay in the pocket? How should you play when you're playing with other musicians? Well, let's talk about it. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. So this video is the first video in a series that I'm doing on the job of musicians in a band. And today we are talking about drummers. So everyone has their opinions about what the most important instrument is in a band. And some say it's keys, some say it's guitar, some say it's bass, some say it's the vocalist, and on and on. But you'd be hard pressed to find a reason as to why drums and drummers are not somewhere toward the top of that list. Drums provide the rhythm, feel, groove, and tempo for the band. Drums are like the ingredients in a good cake recipe. You know, too much of one thing and you got a bad cake. You know, too little of something else and you got a bad cake. But just the perfect amount of seasoning or ingredients and your entire family will be asking for the recipe. And it's the exact same with drums in a band. You know, too much playing or overplaying drums in a band can make your band sound really bad, while the perfect amount or the exact amount of drumming and the right groove and tempo and feel can, create a whole dance environment for your audience and have your band sounding great. And having or being a drummer that ignores these things can mean your band sounding horrible and you never getting hired again. So that brings in questions of how much is too much drumming? Should you stay in the pocket? And more specifically, how do professional drummers and musicians handle this type of thing? Okay, so listen. Your primary job as a drummer in a band is to serve the music and serve the musicians that you're playing with. I know you've been practicing and shedding all of these great licks and chops and all of that is great. But if you're neglecting to serve the music that you're playing, all you're really doing is playing for your own ego. You want to be seen and get all of the applause, and you want to have your definition of fun while playing. And that's the case most of the time, unless it's the case where you simply don't know these things or you're ignorant of, the things that you're supposed to be doing as a drummer. It's like if you have a day job. Your day job has some primary responsibilities, and if you're not doing those primary responsibilities, you're not doing your job. So then how do you do that? How do you serve the music? Okay, so first, drummers. You have got to start listening to and learning the music correctly. You've got to stop that listening to it right before you play it thing that a lot of drummers do. And this may not be you as a drummer, but it's definitely something that drummers are notorious for doing. And I know as a drummer, as I'm a drummer too, that it's really easy to pick up a groove or a beat in a couple of minutes just by listening to a song for, a few seconds. And there may be some cases where that's necessary and you have to do that. But that whole holding the phone up to the ear, listening to the song right before the gig or right before you're about to play the song, that just isn't going to cut it. Hear me when I say, if you haven't internalized the music that you're playing, you don't know it. If you don't know stuff like how long the verse or chorus is, or where the buildups are in the song, or where the groove pattern changes, or whether or not you should be on side stick or hitting the snare on the head, or where the song breaks or breakdowns are, you don't know the music. All you're really doing is just playing a generic beat to the music. This is something that has to stop. So definitely start taking the time to go through the music and learn it thoroughly. And right before we get to the next thing, if you're getting value out of this video so far, do me a quick favor and subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on this video. Go ahead and do that now. See, that lets me know that you appreciate this content, and it lets me know what type of content I should make for you in the future. Now, next, as a drummer, you have to discipline yourself. As a drummer, you have to have enough self-control that if, say, a song calls for a very simple beat throughout that song, you can do that and you can hold down that simple beat throughout the song, no matter how boring it may seem to you. No matter how simple it is to you, and no matter how, more educated and more fancy you can be than playing that simple beat, you have to have enough self-control to be able to maintain that through the music. You have to think of yourself more as a support system for the other musicians in the band. Other musicians depend on you for things like the timing and tempo and the feel and groove, and these things are super important. Think about the singer, who is usually the front person in the band, can be easily thrown off by you playing a song, way too fast at a faster tempo, or playing licks and chops over their vocal lines, or even just sporadically changing the groove and feel of the song mid-song while they're trying to do their vocal parts. That can get really catastrophic, and it can throw people off. And it's even exacerbated even further because drums tend to be louder than other instruments, especially in close proximity. So if you have a drummer that's, right behind the singer, and they're, sitting there killing it and playing all of these faster tempos than the song is supposed to go, that can easily throw other musicians off. So as a drummer, you have to regulate your playing in a way that supports the music and supports the other musicians you're playing with. Now next, and I know this may be a little bit of a touchy subject for you, but leave the double pedals at home. Look, I love double pedals. They're great for practicing. They're great for learning things like independence and, technique and things like that. These are really good practice tools. The double pedal is a really good practice tool to have. And it's great when you're applying them to things like solo drumming or doing drum solos. They work perfectly for things like that. But they simply don't have a place in most bands playing modern music or the typical music that you would play at most gigs you hear bands playing at. And of course, there are some exceptions. So things like jazz fusion, if you're playing that genre, drums are pretty involved in that, where double pedals may be a thing, or even, a drum feature or a drum competition. They work perfectly for things like that. But that whole running down the hallway sound that you get from the kick drum playing 16th notes, in a groove just doesn't go well on songs like Mustang Sally or Let's Groove Tonight or Give It To Me Baby or, Sweet Caroline. It just doesn't work for those. And again, double pedals are cool, and I know you've been practicing with them and all of that, and that's okay. But just leave them at home and don't play them until you found a suitable place for them in the music that you're playing. And again, this comes down to what I've been talking about so far about serving the music, thinking about what you're doing as a musician to serve the musicians and the music that you're playing. Now, to be clear about all of this, I'm not saying that as a drummer, you need to be stodgy or robotic and that you can't have fun. I think drums, almost more than any other instrument, should be fun. What I am saying is don't sacrifice the musical elements like groove, timing, tempo, and feel for things like fun and chops and licks. And I know you've heard this before, but drummers who tend to be more music focused are the drummers who tend to get paid more and get more work. Fancy drummers get attention, but drummers focused on music get work and they get paid. This is evident in pretty much all of the night show bands that you see on TV. Just check out any of those bands. You don't see their drummers up there like doing chops and drum solos and things like that. They're getting paid really good salaries to play to the music and play, what the band needs and what the other musicians need out of the drummer. And again, this is one of those things that fall under professionalism. And this channel is about helping musicians make money, and it's the professionalism that helps musicians make more money. So these are things you definitely want to be focused on. Now, there's a couple of other things that I'll mention here briefly, and one is make sure you tune your drums ahead of time, ahead of the gig. Don't be that drummer that has to stop between songs and tune ahead because you haven't done it before the gig starts, and you have the whole band waiting on you to start the next song because you got a drum key trying to tune your 10-inch tom or whatever the case may be. That's just simply not professional. And another thing you want to do is eliminate all of those squeaks and noises and stuff that may be coming from your drums. So like if you have your toms next to each other and they're rattling up against each other because they have that friction where they're hitting each other, you need to eliminate stuff like that. If you have noises coming from your kick pedal, you may need to oil it if you have a chain on it or whatever the case may be, but do your best to eliminate all of those types of noises. That just creates a more professional experience, and it helps people see you as a professional drummer and musician. So the thing to get here is that drumming and being a drummer is much more entailed than simply playing a beat to a song or doing a bunch of fancy chops and licks. It's about knowing the music thoroughly and about knowing how to apply the musical elements like groove timing and feel and tempo in a way that serves the music that you're playing and serves the musicians that you're playing with. And if you want to be seen or viewed as a professional drummer, these are the things that you need to be focusing on. But the question is for you. Are you a drummer and do you focus on these things? Or what are some other professional tips that you would give drummers that you think belong on this list? Jump down in the comment section and let me know. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. And hey, did you know that there are a bunch of free resources that I've put together just for you? Everything from a free ebook that gives you 10 tips on how to make more money as a musician, to contracts that you can use to book high-paying gigs, to set list templates, and much, much more. And again, you can find the links to them in the description of this video, so make sure to jump down and download those. And listen, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope that it was helpful for you and it provided some insight on the job of a drummer and what it takes to be a professional drummer. And here are some other videos that you can check out right now.